The old folks in Eldridge Hollow still say, some graves don't want to stay closed. 20 years ago, under a moonless Mississippi sky, Babatunde Okoro was digging a hole behind the forgotten family cemetery at the edge of the pines. His hands bled. His breath came out in ragged clouds. At his feet lay a body wrapped tight in white burial cloth, bound so hard the fabric looked painted on. I'm sorry, my brother, Babatunde whispered, voice cracking. My pride, my damn temper. It cost you everything. He didn't loosen the bindings. He didn't speak the proper words. He didn't even place the headstone correctly. In his panic and drunken grief, he simply rolled Emeka's body into the shallow grave, shoveled the dirt back, and stumbled home. That night, something in the dark started following him. Present-day Atlanta, Georgia. Dayo Okoro sat in the dim light of his apartment, eyes bloodshot, clutching his phone. Doc, I'm telling you. He's standing right outside my window again. Same white burial cloth. Same empty eyes. Every single night for the last 6 weeks. The psychiatrist's voice was calm, professional. Dayo, we've adjusted your medication. The hallucinations should. He's not a hallucination, Dayo snapped. He's getting closer. That same night, after he finally passed out from exhaustion, Dayo woke to the sound of heavy footsteps on his ceiling. Slow. Bit. Like something dragging itself across the roof. He called his girlfriend, Fatima. Baby, I think I have to go back home. To Eldridge Hollow. Fatima was quiet for a long moment. Dayo, you haven't been back there since your daddy died. I know, but something's pulling me, and I'm scared if I don't go. It's gonna follow me forever. The Greyhound bus dropped him off at the crossroads just after sunset. The air smelled of pine, wet earth, and something faintly rotten. Dayo walked the last 3 miles down the old dirt road. The deeper he went into the woods, the heavier the silence became. Halfway there, he saw it. A tall figure in white burial cloth standing between the trees, perfectly still, watching him. Dayo froze. The figure didn't move. It just stared. He ran. By the time he reached the old wooden house where his Aunt Esi and Uncle Babatunde still lived, his shirt was soaked with sweat, and his heart felt ready to explode. Aunt Esi opened the door. The moment she recognized him, tears filled her eyes, and she pulled him into a tight hug. Dayo, my boy, you came home. Inside, the house smelled of old wood and herbal medicine. Uncle Babatunde sat in his rocking chair, staring at nothing. His eyes were cloudy. When he finally looked at Dayo, a slow, unsettling smile spread across his face. You brought him with you, didn't you? Babatunde whispered. Aunt Esi quickly pulled Dayo into the kitchen. Your uncle. He's not been right since your father passed. He talks to someone who isn't there. Keeps saying Emeka never left. That night, Dayo couldn't sleep. At 3:17 a.m., he heard the sound again. Something heavy walking across the tin roof. Then a low, wet dragging noise right outside his bedroom window. He turned. The figure in the burial cloth was standing inches away on the other side of the glass, staring directly into his eyes. Dayo screamed. The front door burst open. Uncle Babatunde stormed in with his old shotgun, eyes wild. Emeka, you stay away from my blood, he roared. Babatunde fired twice into the darkness. The flashes lit up the yard, long enough for Dayo to see the figure sprinting unnaturally fast toward the tree line, burial cloth flapping like torn wings. Then Babatunde turned, grabbed Dayo by the shoulders, and hissed. He didn't come for you. He came for the truth. The next morning, Aunt Esi finally told him everything. How Babatunde and Emeka had been cutting timber deep in the pines that day. How Babatunde, drunk and angry, ignored his older brother's warnings. How a massive pine came down wrong and crushed Emeka instantly. Instead of calling for help or performing the proper burial rites their people had kept for generations, Babatunde, terrified of going to prison, wrapped the body quickly and buried it in secret before sunrise. He didn't loosen the cloth. He didn't speak the ancestral prayers. He didn't place the headstone at the correct end. In their culture, those things mattered. Because of that, Emeka never rested. He became something the old folks called the Bound One. A spirit trapped between worlds, angry, confused, and growing stronger every year. He wasn't trying to kill you, Dayo, Auntie Si said, crying. He was trying to show you. He wanted his son to know what really happened to him. That night, the horror reached its peak. The entire house shook. Windows exploded inward. Dayo and his aunt ran outside to see Uncle Babatunde standing in the yard, shotgun in hand, facing the tall white figure that now stood only 10 feet away. "You took my brother," Babatunde screamed, voice breaking. "Now you want my nephew?" He fired. The figure moved like lightning, grabbed Babatunde by the throat, and dragged him screaming into the black tree line. The woods swallowed both of them. Dayo and Aunt Esi searched with flashlights until dawn, but they never found Babatunde's body. Only his shotgun and a single strip of old, yellowed burial cloth tied around the trigger. 3 weeks later, Dayo brought a respected elder from the Nigerian community in Atlanta down to Eldridge Hollow. They performed the full traditional rites at the old grave, loosening what should have been loosened 20 years ago, speaking the words that should have been spoken, and finally laying Emeka to rest the right way. That night, for the first time in months, Dayo slept without nightmares. He still lives in Eldridge Hollow with Aunt Esi. Some nights, when the wind moves through the pines just right, he swears he can hear his father's voice, soft, peaceful, whispering goodnight. But he never walks near that old cemetery after dark. Some graves really don't want to stay closed. If you love dark, atmospheric horror stories based on real cultural beliefs and buried family secrets, then you're home. This is Eerie Narratives, where the scariest stories aren't the ones we invent. They're the ones we try to forget. Drop a like if your heart was racing. Share this with someone who loves a good Southern Gothic ghost story. And subscribe with notifications on, because the next one might be waiting for you tonight. Until then, lock your doors, and maybe check on your family secrets. Sweet dreams.